Howdy, I'm Nick from Fouch Off Grid,
And I'm Esther.
and we're here at day 5 of the Permaculture Design course at Wheaton Labs, and we're going to take a minute to tell you why in the heck we've decided to do this thing.
So we're on day 5 of this workshop here in Montana, almost the end of the first week. There are some resistances that come up, I think definitely for us, but also for some other folks, maybe for some of you. Among them, this is a huge field of knowledge. It's very particular, but it's also very encompassing.
Right.
Encompassing multiple aspects of life.
Vast. Life, both our own and life of pretty much everything on the planet.
So one of the reasons that we're sitting down here tonight is that there's a part of me that just wants to go take a nap. Like, this is a lot, and I'm not sure that it's worth it. And yet there are these skills and principles and specific technologies that are coming from it. And we wanted to process how those things may be helpful for us going forward.
Absolutely.
So let's ask the question. So going back to our homestead from here, at the end of these 2 weeks, what are we going to have that we didn't have before?
What I'm coming to is that we're going to have a process, a way to make better decisions. It gives you a process by which you can set goals, and then a process of decision making specifically geared towards those goals that you set. So that's sort of what we've been lacking, and maybe that sounds like common sense stuff, and I think that is sometimes the reaction that people have when they first hear about permaculture or hear some tidbit of a permie speaking. They say, well, that's kind of common sense, and I guess it is, but we very rarely step back and use common sense to make decisions.
That's to the truth.
We largely, and we're absolutely guilty of this on our homestead, is we make decisions based upon things we think we know, or things that we're comfortable with, or sort of easiest path. So it does set up a lot of hard work to be done, but if you're able to follow the process through, it will get you where you want to be.
I feel like I want to backtrack now and almost define permaculture for those of you who may be following along and saying, well, what is this? What is permaculture? And I feel like if you'd asked me 4 days ago, I could have told you what permaculture was. But now I don't think I can anymore. And part of that is that because of what my situation is here at the workshop, I've got 3 kids and I'm also making a video every day. I'm missing a lot of the flow of the workshop. So Nick, can you help me out? Can you step up and help me out and define permaculture?
I could probably read it from my notes.
There you go.
One big idea that is a takeaway from the permaculture training that I've had so far is you're working to engineer ecosystems in order to obtain a yield. So that's sort of a common thing that you hear about permaculture, and it sounds, again, like common sense, but if you go about it in the way that we're being taught here, you really look at all of the factors involved, and you're constantly asking why, and so we very rarely do that in our normal lives. And I think that as humans, or as modern humans, we are sort of programmed out of asking why and just accepting a certain number of parameters, and then we just sort of bounce around and operate within those parameters, and everything's cool. But as we're looking at, you know, systems around the world and sort of ways that we get fed and ways that things come to us, you can pretty quickly figure out, from an engineering standpoint, from a sociology standpoint, not everything is cool.
Yeah.
So there must be better ways to get any number of things done, and there kind of has to be at a certain point.
We're attending a PDC for homesteaders, a permaculture design course for homesteaders. It's my understanding that the permaculture design course that gets you a permaculture design certificate is based on Bill Mollison's book. So there are certain categories that every PDC goes through, but this one is angled towards people who want to design a plot of land, particularly for food self-sufficiency, which of course is what we are. And so when we're looking at permaculture, we really are looking for solutions for 3 acres that we already have. And we're looking for skills to do things we've already set out to do.
Right.
And I think it's important for us at this point to check in with that and say, okay, how are we doing? Especially since the course is actually, to some extent, about that, about knowing your goals and being true to them and having a critical perspective that allows you to actually pursue those goals instead of just paying lip service to it. It seems like day 5 is a good day to just check in.
Absolutely. So here on day 5, we spent a lot of time outside because our design projects have started. Yesterday we divided up into our groups and we interviewed the person who we're designing for, and we were able to choose a piece of land, and today we went out and we started taking measurements on that land, making sure we knew the parameters of that piece.
Okay.
And we also are starting to gather what's called sector analysis, which is just sort of mapping and noting the energy that's coming into and leaving the property. And that sounds sort of new agey, but it really does mean, where does the wind come from? What is the slope like? Where does the sun come from? Other factors around and inside of the property that are going to affect how you design for that particular space. So we spent a lot of time outside looking at our new piece of property in groups large and small, and we also did a little bit of classroom work on things like weather and climate and topography and geology. So not enough to become an expert, but enough to get us familiar with the with sort of the elements at play. Late in the day, we had a little drawing lesson from one of the guest instructors, Davin.
It was this repetition that they did that made it to where I could tell that it was a fence.
Who is an architect, and he was brought here because of that, because he's an architect and he has drawing experience. He has all sorts of graphic skills that we can benefit from in order for us to make a beautiful design and a well-presented design and an accurate design.
Hi, I'm Davin Hoyt. I'm an architect from Georgetown, Texas. I'm a guest instructor at the PDC 2017 at Wheaton Labs underneath Tim Barker. You can check out my website, davinhoyt.com, or just find me on social media. Let's see, I'm also in the forums over there at permies.com. My latest project was a solar food dehydrator.
So this exercise, this design exercise that they're doing, the idea is that you have a client and you are designing the space not only according to the client specifications, but also in a category that's been provided by Tim Barker, the instructor. So either you're doing one house or you're doing 5 tiny houses. You're your plot is decided by the instructor, and then your client gives you the criteria or the goals for the design. But what we're practicing for us is not to go and design other people's properties, although I'm sure Nick would be good at that. That would be a far, far way in the future. What we're practicing for is to be able to make these kinds of decisions on our own property. And that's actually the one thing that I would offer to those of you who have asked, how can I apply this to my life? How can I start to take these things you're so excited about and do them in my life? I think that these ideas that he's working on right now of how to look at a piece of property, do what he calls sector analysis, that literal scientific energy, the movements of energy on a property, and knowing how to relate those elements, going back to our chicken exercise from the second day, what are the inputs and outputs of an element, and how are those connected to other things? And just thinking about, just doing even some thought exercises in your own, just for fun, to say, how could I arrange things in space in a way that would be the most efficient, would allow the most connectivity between elements? And that's the thing that I can isolate. Being someone who isn't getting to see every minute of it and is a little overwhelmed by some of it, I can say this actual design process is the golden egg for me right now. This is what I can kind of hold on to and know is worth being here for that experience.
Absolutely, and I think that the design project in class of asking somebody else the questions is a good exercise, because if you start by asking yourself the questions, you're going to assume that you've already thought of all of this stuff and you don't really need to dig so deep. But if you start by asking somebody else, somebody that we really just met a few days ago, you're going to actually need to draw all that information out of them. So I think that it's a better way to start than just working on yourself and your own property.
So if you had to answer the question, is a PDC worth it? What would you say at this point?
I would say absolutely. If and it really depends on the individual. Some people can learn from a book, or in the case of permaculture, a whole library full of books, because it's sort of all encompassing, the knowledge base that you need. But there is something else that happens when you get into a room with people who have a similar, not just interest, but a similar passion, I guess. Everybody in the room is passionate about harnessing the energy of permaculture and figuring out how to make it work in their life and how to make their life better with it. So that's probably true of sort of any school of thought, that when you get together with fellow whatever it is, watch enthusiasts, something else happens, and you're able to share and build upon each other's knowledge, which you can't get from being in a dark room like this.
So don't give us a group of preschool age children who really love bugs, because Sadie's passion doesn't need to be ignited any further.
Right.
Okay, I think we're bringing it to a close.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks for hanging out with us. We always appreciate you.
All right, well, I'm Nick.
I'm Esther.
And we are Fouch-o-matic Off Grid. We'll see you tomorrow
for day 6, and we'll go back to our other kind of showing you every moment of the day again on day 6. We changed formats today because there was a lot of outside work, and because we felt like we needed to do this check-in. So I hope it helped some of you the way it has helped us.
See you later.
Good night, Tubby. Found you!
Wait, what did you find?
Taro!
You found yarrow.
And Stella has a bleeding thumb, so I can show her the yarrow.